All right, everybody, welcome back. So today what we're going to talk about is the language of marketing. Hopefully as we've gone through these sessions, you have started to see how you might be able to fit in, especially the last session, right? And you're getting closer to the point where I would love for you to be going out and having a conversation with a business. Because as you have that conversation, the whole part of you that is like, oh, I don't know anything about this, will retreat to the background, and you'll start to be confronted or start to discover how this business really could benefit from your help. And as that happens, their needs become bigger so that your fear or your insecurity appears smaller. Because you're like, dude, I may not know everything, but I know more than this guy. So that's sort of what we want for you to be. And one way that we can do that is to discuss / introduce two categories of things. One is, I'm going to call them questions to ask. I didn't make up that term. I'm not saying that was some innovative term, but one will be questions. And that is both questions that you literally can ask of the person and questions that you should be asking of yourself about the business. So we'll address those. And then the other thing is just what I would call, it might be called jargon. If you don't know that term, it's just kind of the language of marketing and business. So in the same way that if you were talking football, talking about touchdowns and safeties and line to gain and all that stuff would be the jargon. It's the terminology of what you're talking about. This is a situation where we're saying there are some terms that you should be familiar with. And so I'm going to try to introduce them. I'll introduce some of them here and maybe some of them on like a PowerPoint or what have you. But and what I'll probably do, why don't we just do this? I'm going to start talking questions. And then as I identify language, I'll just pull it off here to the side. So the first question, that is a valuable question for a business is, fundamentally it's, so what do you do, right? It's, what are you about? Why do you exist, right? So it's sort of, what do you do? What's your purpose? Because then what that will do is it will help you dig into where they're clear and where they're not clear, right? Because if you say, okay, so I was talking to somebody the other day, and they do home services for like the elderly. So they do a subscription basis, which means people pay a certain amount every month, and then they get a certain number of hours where a home services person will come to their house. Okay, I can come out of this question, and I can kind of get what they do. Do I know everything? Do I know how they market? Do I know their different target markets? Who are the people? Who are the customers that they're trying to connect with? And there's something that we will talk about at some point in Marketing University about how to help a customer develop a really, really narrow and defined target market, which is called a niche. So what do you do or what's your purpose? The other question that's always valuable to know is, who are you trying to get in front of? That's what a target market is, right? If you know that the center of the bullseye for your marketing, right there, is women who are over the age of 50, who have just finished their kind of child rearing, and they used to own a business before they got married or before they had kids or before whatever. They used to own a business. If that's the center of your bullseye, that's great because you know who you're trying to attract. And if you are a marketer for them, then you can say, hey, here are the ways that we could attract those types of customers. Here are the messages that could attract those types of customers. You might also say, you know what? Why don't we expand that definition so that we have a larger market? Or you could say, here's another group of customers who might be really interested in that because they share the characteristics with that particular target market. So really it's who are you trying to get in front of? Who are you marketing to? Now, that's all good. Then the one question, and as follows, right, is why do people buy, interested, not buy? Right? Why are they interested in you? Why do they make the decision to buy? And why do they sometimes not buy? That will tell you loads. That will tell you how connected the client is to their marketing messages. What are the real needs of their customers, right? So messages. There's a concept. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. And then I would say the last thing for now would be how do you get in front of your customers? How do you market? And what this is a concept of what media. Media means way. Media means channel. Media means access. So what media do you use to put your message in front of the market? And in business, we talk about having a message to market match, right? If I'm marketing to you and you're a teenager, I'm not going to want to use necessarily the same examples, the same words, the same messages that I would use if I was marketing to a 60-year-old or to a 48-year-old, right? So I want to match my message to the market. And you may also want to match your message to your media. There are some things that you can communicate in a tweet that you don't want to, that are things that you could not communicate in a tweet that you could communicate in a 30-second commercial, or you could communicate in a book. So that's something that's important, and you are going to be exposed to all sorts of media. Posting something on Facebook is a media. Creating a YouTube video is a media. Putting a flyer on somebody's door is a media. So how do you market now? What media do you use to put your message in front of your target market now? In most cases, they might just put stuff out there. They're not targeting. They don't even know who their best customers are. That's a good research and analysis project for you to say, give me your customers, and I'll start to look at them and see what categories do they fall into. All right. Let's do a few more here. Let's see. I'm going to use a term. There's a term called lead generation advertising. So a lead is just a prospective customer, right? And lead generation advertising is something that you would do to generate or attract leads. Then you put those people come into your conversion system. And this is built to convert them from being a lead who might be interested into somebody who's qualified, to somebody who is desirous, somebody who has built up reasons to buy your product, and then hopefully make the sale, which sometimes is called closing the sale. Okay, so if we're talking about closing a customer, it means ending the conversation positively for them. Lead generation advertising, one of the things that I talk about a lot, and I certainly want you to develop confidence and competence with doing this, is the idea that if you think about lead generation advertising as fishing, when you go out fishing, you decide what you want to catch, right? You fish in different waters depending on whether you want to catch a shark or whether you want to catch a minnow. And you realize that you have to do something. You might have a good fishing line and a hook, but you need to do something to get that fish's attention and to get them to come and basically introduce themselves to you by biting on your hook. And we call that's called bait, right? So you decide what kind of bait would be interesting for a shark or what kind of bait would be interesting for a minnow, and you put that bait on the hook. So you can think of the hook as kind of a conversion process. But bait is really, really important. And I want to draw a distinction because I have a lot of people, grown people, who get worried and get not confused, but get sort of held back by the concept of bait because they think they're doing something wrong, okay? The truth of it is, when you're a marketer for a business, you're only going to want to work with businesses that you think are doing good stuff, that are somehow benefiting their clients, and they want more clients to benefit. So you can sort of disempower this resistance by asking yourself or your client this question: are you planning to kill and eat your customers? If you are, I do not want to create bait for you. If, on the other hand, you are looking to help, serve, educate, enrich, entertain your customers, then I will help you with bait. And so I have changed the definition of bait, because what people really want and what you really want to help your clients provide, to say nothing of the fact that you'll do this in your own business, what you really want to help your clients provide is advice, is information. You want them to be able to provide tools. So I have created a little acronym, because what BAIT is big, advice, information, and tools. And these are things that your businesses can provide, can advertise, can share, can give away, other people can give away, that actually help the customers lose weight, avoid disease, educate their kids, fix their marriage, prevent their house from leaking, whatever, that they can do that, and it will then lead back through a conversion process to potentially that person working with the client. So that's really what we're talking about with regards to BAIT. By the way, BIG stands for business is good. You've got to remember that these businesses they're absolutely enriching our communities, satisfying customers. They're doing all kinds of good stuff. Why do we know this? Because people don't buy from people unless they want to buy from people, unless they believe that business is going to help them solve some problem that is that the solution is worth more than the money that they're paying. It's absolutely voluntary, right? These are agreements between people, and these businesses are out there saying, how can we help more people? And that's what you can do. You help businesses serve more customers and clients. All right, so I wanted to talk about a few number type things, but I'm not going to go into those because we'll be digging into those in Marketing University. But they are extraordinarily important in terms of you understanding your value to a business and a business understanding a customer's value to them. And so let's just address it. We'll talk about it later. One very, 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 very important thing is to understand the value of a customer. Okay, now you might say, well, that's easy. That's simple math, right? If I go to McDonald's and I spend $10, the value to McDonald's of me is $10. That's true if you are a one-off type business. But what all of your businesses should be thinking about, building relationships. How can you how can you serve clients more and ongoing and often? What is the likelihood that a happy, satisfied customer will refer another customer? And most of your businesses do something like this. They may already have it, that person comes in 5 times a year. Or, a real estate agent might say, yeah, I'll make $10,000 on this person, but seven years from now, they're going to buy or sell another house and I'll make this amount of money. So we can talk about sort of annual value of a customer and then lifetime value of a customer. Annual is good because what I want you to be thinking of and talking with your businesses is, do you really know what the value of your customer is? And are there ways that we can increase the value of a customer? Simple thing. Let's say I go to McDonald's and I buy a hamburger and it's $5. And they say, would you like fries with that? And I say, have you seen this body? Yes, of course I want fries with that. And I now am worth $7.50. And they give me a handful of coupons. And they say, come back in next week. We're having a bunch more fries. And you look like you want fries. Then now, instead of just coming one time, I come back, right? If they follow up with me, if they collected my email information somehow, or my text information, and they said, hey, we're running a sale on Quarter Pounders. Come on in today. And I come in, then I have just, through marketing, I have just increased the value of that customer. If they say, hey, when's your birthday? Let's come in and celebrate a birthday. Bring all your friends. Then I'm now bringing in a bunch of people, and the total value that I have created for McDonald's has grown and grown and grown. Why is this important? Obviously, it's important because businesses, they're businesses. They need to make money. But the other thing that's important is that as a marketer, if you can understand and help your customer understand the annual value of a customer, the lifetime value of a customer, then their whole equation changes. For instance, I might have a business where they charge $100 a month for a martial arts client. Well, if you say to me, hey, I'll work and market your business. You pay me $100 for every new customer you find. If they don't understand customer value, then they're going to say, wait a minute, I'm giving you all of my money. I got $100 from that person that the first day they signed up, and I'm giving it to you. That doesn't make any sense. But if you say, hold on a second there, Brainiac, that's the transaction that you just got from the customer. You're charging $99 a month. The annual value of that customer to you is $1,200 almost. And how many referrals do you get from new customers? Well, I get 3. Okay, well that means that new customer that I bring you that you would never have seen before is worth at least $1,200, and more likely it's going to be worth at least 2 or 3 additional customers, which would be another $3,600 annual value from that customer. Do you, business owner, have any other things? Do you have conferences? Do you have performances? Do you have black belt competitions? Do you have any materials that you sell? Do you have any relationships with other businesses? These are all the types of things that you could help them do, by the way. But when you ask that question, they say, yeah, I have this and this and this. Well, then that total customer value, that annual customer value goes up, right? Because you make additional sales to that customer. So now that $100 that you're charging to bring in a new customer doesn't sound so much. In fact, I would say, and we'll talk about pricing in a little bit later, but I would say that that's underpriced. And if you want to then go say, well, let me go out and do some marketing, and I need money from you, business, to go market, you have to be able to, show them that you understand the value of the customer and that you can do some of these things. So I'm getting a little tired on that, and hopefully you'll have a list in front of you of some terminology. It's not essential for you to have a PhD or an MBA in marketing right now. What I would rather have you do is to know what types of questions are going to get you started. In Marketing University, we're all working together, right? So as you have questions of a business or you run into a business, we can look at that business together and identify issues. But you need to start asking questions and being able to understand the terminology for you to have that increased competence and confidence. All right? See you tomorrow.